Hello everyone, and welcome to another snippet in the diary of Mr. Ink. And this is a diary extract. It's not a how-to video. Well, there'll be some tips because it's a job that I've done before, of which you have seen me do on 50 Shades when I installed the front subframe with new arms and, well, what was a new rack, a reconditioned rack at the time, but now that all had to come back off and I had to repeat that job again off camera. That was the most frustrating thing. But for those of you asking, 50 Shades is absolutely fine. She's back on the old rack and no real issues really. That old rack assembly is perfectly fine and perfectly serviceable. But all the new bits are in my spares. Those Lemforder outer and inner rods, they're being kept. I'm going to buy a brand new rack at some point for that car. Although I would say that this car is in more of a need of a new rack. But anyway, what have we been doing here today? Oh yes, Wishbone again. Yes, so what I'm doing, I took advantage of a discount on eBay because those Delphi bottom arms, and I was going to go for Merle. You can go for Merle. Delphi are not known for suspension components, but they do have an arm where they make suspension components, and I've gone for them on 50 Shades and I've been impressed so far. And for a low mileage car, I probably will continue to be impressed. The real test is on this car because I have got a new Delphi bottom arm coming to replace that one, and believe it or not, on the package it says 2006, which is unbelievable. That means that Delphi arm has basically been in storage for 19 years, and that would have been quite an early aftermarket part. So actually, I've got a feeling that some of the patents might have run out quite quickly for some of these components. Maybe they only had a 5-year patent, but that would have been one of the earliest aftermarket bottom arms that you could buy in 2006. So I don't think Delphi is a brand to be knocked about with. And as I say, I've been impressed. I've just got this off with some struggle. The pinch bolt has once again done its usual thing. One thing I am going to swap over, because I'm going to try and make 50 Shades a little bit more original by using bits off this car, but not making this worse. And it's things like this. Now, these heat shields, they basically go like that. And all it does is it protects the ball joint, so it kind of sits through the ball joint like that, okay? And it just protects the rubber from the heat of the disc. So they put it there for a reason, and 50 Shades has been missing them. So I'm going to take these off, clean them up, and keep them in my spares for 50 Shades, just because I'm missing them on that car. Realistically, I'm not worried. 50 Shades hasn't had these for years, and this estate will be fine without them. They said the idea is that they fit all these things for a reason, but I've got to be honest, some of these bits actually aren't required. But for originality's sake, I'm hoping to stick these on 50 Shades, because there will be a point where I'll have to get the arms off at some point for another job on another day. But yes, the ball joint gaiter has actually split apart on this, which I wasn't quite impressed with, but the joint feels good actually. That joint feels really good. Like I say, usual advice, don't bother grinding these off and changing this with a bolt and nut kit, because if this is gone, these will be the same way. And the proof of the pudding is this arm. Let me just hold that. Now this is your rear train arm. You can buy these two bushes separately, by the way, and just fit them to a new old arm, but why would you? It's completely rotten. Well, it's not that bad, but it's, yeah, I don't want it on the car. This bush seems to be a little bit tired in places. Now, the idea of this bush, look at that. Let me just get my foot on it. Look at this. That is not right. That is way too much movement. I mean, I'm only doing hand pressure. Imagine the car when you're going over speed bumps. There's tons of movement there. That is not the way it's supposed to go. By the way, it is supposed to resist this twisting motion, and it's not resisting it. I'm doing it by hand. This bush, however, resists inwards and outwards movement. Now, I reckon this is a pretty good bush, but it's starting to crack. So there we go. There's no real feeling from the front of the car that this is a tired item. But when you take it off and look at things like that, you think, oh, yeah. And obviously that ball joint's not great either. So I'm going to replace them individually. This side 1 week, and well, I couldn't get the other side. The other side had run out, and I want to get Delphi on both sides. So there you go. So yeah, I'm going to fit the new arm. And by the way, there is something I need to say. I did touch on this with 50 Shades about the torque settings for these bolts. So we've got the front one, which looks like someone has coated that. Someone has put something on that. Someone's been in here before. That's that one that goes there, and the inner one that goes there. Oh, you will have a special washer, by the way, that goes over there. I have thrown it in the bin. Those special washers, you've got 4 for the subframe. Use them for the subframe, but for that one, don't bother. It's just to help you get it lined up properly. Now, I've taken some measurements of where the old one was sitting, and we'll see how the new one sits. Obviously, it will affect the toe. I'm very conscious about that, but I'm not bothering to get any of the toe alignment done because these tyres are going to be binned in the next year and a half, probably. Give it another year and a half or so, these will be binned, the alloys will be refurbed, and I'll have the whole alignment done, because by that stage the whole suspension would have been done. And I've already done the drop links. We need to sort out the bottom arms at the front. Obviously, you know, the strut assembly obviously is going to be changed at some point, but I just made it look it's still starting to rust already. It doesn't matter, because they'll all be changed at some point. But yeah, these bolts. Now, Ford changed in their... there was a vehicle supplement in around 1999 saying that there was complaints from customers regarding knocking noises going over bumps, and it was due to these torque to yield bolts not being torqued up enough. So they suggested tightening them a bit more on the angle. Now, when you torque them up, I think that one's 120, that one's I think 100, 120, and 115 for that front one there. Okay, that one is not a torque to yield. Okay, this one is, and this one, I think, actually no, that one is actually, sorry, that is a torque to yield. And they've all got degree measurements. Now, what I would suggest is you go by the Haynes manual, because that is correct. The earlier torque specifications weren't good enough, and they revised them in 1999. So whatever it says in the Haynes manual, you go by that, okay? I've got access to other data from the Haynes manual, and that's why I know this information. But yeah, just something to be aware about, that try and torque it up by as much as you can. Believe you me, when you're wrestling with the swan neck spanner and then trying to go in with the breaker bar, trying to do that, well, what would be 90 degree, I think it was 90 degrees for one of the bolts. Trying to do a right angle 90 degree turn is back breaking, and most garages just get the gun and whack it up. There's no accuracy, and I've never known an issue by not torquing them up if you cannot fully turn that stretch bolt. And yes, by nature, of course, stretch bolts are not meant to be reused, but do you know how expensive these are? Yes, we reuse them. I'm going to clean these up and reuse them, but I am going to get new locking nuts, because the nylons completely melted with my induction tool, which I needed. So yes, and I have a new bolt as usual. New pinch bolt. You do need a new pinch bolt of all the bolts you need, because that one is sacrificial. It always is. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off and finish my little diary. Take care, guys.